folks. Welcome. Chris Garlock back with you. It must be Sunday night. And of course, that means we also have none other than Michael Redmond with us. Michael, so good to see you.
Hi, Chris.
How you doing tonight? Or
I'm
this
fine.
morning, I guess this
Good
morning
morning.
where you are. That's right.
I'm wide awake, I suppose.
Good. Got your tea ready to go. All right. Before we get to our AlphaGo versus AlphaGo game, and I'm very excited to be back to that. What's the latest Go news over in Japan where you are?
Well, I think the big title that's going on right now is the Meijin tournament. It's Iyama is challenging actually against Shibano, and Iyama has 2 wins out of 3 games. So they're still in the coming up to the 4th round. I think they played the 3rd round just last week. Yeah.
And it's still best of 7, I think, right?
It's a best of 7, so still has a bit of a ways to go.
Just checking. I was talking to my brother-in-law, who's a big baseball fan. Of course, baseball is going here in the U.S., but it's a much abbreviated schedule. So I just want to make sure they hadn't abbreviated the Meijin. It's still they're going the full seven rounds.
Full 7 games, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Well, maybe we can take a look at one of those games in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, maybe. I would like to do that. There are some issues with the sponsors, though. When
That's right. I forgot. You played a game, I understand.
Yeah, I played a game. I played a rather exciting game against Old Man, and it started out well, exciting anyway, with 7 groups on one side of the board. So it looked like some of those AlphaGo versus AlphaGo games that we're doing.
Speaking of.
Yeah, very heated fight in the beginning of the game.
All right. Well, we can definitely take a look at that then. That would be I love looking at your games, so as you know them so well. All right. Well, that kind of sets us up nicely for tonight's AlphaGo. We haven't done one of these for a while, but we were chatting before we went on the air, and we have been doing this particular series for like years.
More than a year, yeah, I think. Yes.
Cool.
It's 50 games, you know.
It is. I know. We're at game 47, so we're
seeing some other stuff in too. Yeah,
well, that's true. So, all right. Just a reminder, folks, we are live, so of course, love to hear your comments, your questions. Mostly on Go. If you have other questions, we will. We have other interests. We'll try and answer them. But you can do that, and of course. Jared, our producer, will throw in some links for not only our YouTube series, but also, of course, Michael has got his YouTube channel and lots of cool stuff there. And he's on Twitter. And this has all been a good opportunity for us to spread our wings in some new and different ways. So let's check out that stuff as well. All right. On to game 47. What are we going to be looking at? Death and dying, multiple groups. So
I'd say not quite dying.
Not quite.
Okay. It doesn't quite die. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just go into it then.
Yes, please.
Okay, we have black playing 3-4 points, and white has played star points. So this is very similar to human games now. You see a lot of players who have switched to 3-4 points just because they're annoyed maybe by the 3-3 invasions. And it's more viable for black, who has the initiative now and can choose. In this game, black played a big shimari, the large nice move. Or black can choose to invade the 3-3 point first, which is more popular nowadays. I don't think we saw that so much in this series, as much as we saw AlphaGo 0 doing it a bit later, I think. But maybe not so much in this series. So it plays the big shimari. The fact that black can take the initiative on the right side, I think it sort of covers the weaknesses that 3-4 point has, in that white can approach it and start an even fight there. And so at this point, it would be normal for black to play the attachment underneath. In fact, all of the computer programs like Lila Zero and Katago and the other ones we have access to, they just seem to like this move so much. And just about everyone who's playing it And so, like, there was a point where we would see black playing some kind of a pincer like this. There was a period where this pincer was extremely popular. Um, Not seeing these so much anymore. In fact, I think
Hmm.
that some players are probably getting a bit rusty in how they deal with these. So it might be an idea to revive them for pretty soon.
That'd be
But
cool.
people forget, yeah, unlike computers. But black actually played away. And this is the second game in this series in which black played away.
Huh.
And so it's something that AlphaGo does. Um, I don't think my computer programs liked it very much. I think there was a dip in black's winning percentage, black's score.
Okay.
Um, but at this point of the game, it doesn't really matter. Like, if you're studying with a computer program, you probably don't have to worry about that so much. It's more important that you understand uh, how the fight is going to develop and you feel ready
Hmm.
to fight that fight. And the computer programs are getting gradually stronger and stronger. So depending on the position, on the way the game is turning out, sometimes something like 10 to 20 points difference in the scores is a very small difference in territory. So
Hmm.
like this one relatively minor end game mistake will turn that around. So they're playing this Joseki in the upper left, and black plays the attachment. I think this is by far the most popular move now. And playing the 3-3 point and connecting to this is a Joseki that we used to play. But even before AlphaGo came, people were saying that this is going to be good for white. It's just that white's position is very efficient. Although I think the original argument was that black was getting white's corner, so black was
Right.
getting territory here. But white's position is so efficient with no wasted stones, and with these two black stones being captured, like at least one of those stones is sort of wasted. One of the black stones could be called an exchange with this white stone, which is probably still bad, but the other's black stone is going to be wasted. So it's an inefficient position for black. Sorry, here we go. And so this is not played anymore. You do sometimes see, I sometimes see, you might say, the computer program suggesting this move for black, and it gets a bit complicated and hard to understand. So I'm not going to go into that one.
And speaking of that, and it may just be too much to go into, but one of the questions from the chat has to do with the 3-3.
Hmm.
Since you've been doing a lot of studying, have you found a good reason for the early 3-3? Does the
Oh,
AI
the
help?
direct 3-3. Well, um, it's a very subtle difference if you're looking at the territorial. It's still going to be a very close game,
Okay.
and the score is still going to be close whether you play that move or you play a normal approach move. And so it's the fact that it's comparable is something that I can understand.
Right.
Like it's not so far away from my previous knowledge of the game.
Hmm.
It completely turns it around. So I think it's the fact that black is taking a territory, and for instance, let's do that in a different corner. Then let's for instance let's use this game and say black jumps in here. Let's do it one move earlier. Black does something, or we could do it at this point. Let's do it at this point. Say black plays a move like this,
Hmm.
and something like this happens. Um, while taking a solid territory, black is forcing white to choose how to continue. Like white can play, if black gets to play a pincer here, black actually has potential to attack this white group. So white has to immediately decide whether white's going to protect that wall or play a more active game. And black's strategy can be changed according to that. So, provided you know a lot about all of the variations that can happen, you have to have a plan for each way that white plays.
Hmm.
But for a player who has done that research and study, then it makes a very flexible opening for black, where black has already taken some extra territory. And actually, depending on how white plays this, in this position that I'm showing here, black has potential to attack a little bit. Or if white plays something a bit more safe, like a move on the side here, then black will be taking a lead in territory. by getting the 3 3 point and the initiative on the right side of the board.
Hmm.
It's basically it's a kind of an asking move to ask what white wants to do with the game and to change black's strategy depending on that. So it makes it
Okay.
very flexible, and flexible is something that strong players like because they have the experience to be able to continue being flexible.
Hmm.
Whereas it's something that is relatively difficult for even a lot of pros to understand completely. So I'm really when I say a strong player, I'm actually talking about people at the top of the professional.
Right.
And for weaker players, um, the reason I don't really advise it strongly for weaker players is that what black has to be very flexible. Sometimes it's very easy to lose control of what you're trying to do there, but that can happen with any game. So you're free to try it anyway.
Right. Right. No. It's I think that's good advice and a good answer. And I think that it's something that you talked about this before too. That there are fads and people just and this was true before AI and is as true now. So okay, thank you. Good question. Keep them coming. On with the show.
So we're at this point. I think a move that would be, if we're going to exclude this move, I think a move that would be played now would be the extension here,
Hmm.
which can be played. But when the ladder favors black, let's see, did I check the ladder here? The ladder does favor black. When the ladder favors black, I sort of like this move better. And the ladder I'm talking about is when white cuts here and comes here. And I'm pretty sure that this ladder is going to favor black. Do I need to, let's just say that I think it's going to hit this black stone here. So was that a good enough line there?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm getting better at writing these things. So white covers here.
This is by the way, folks. This is professionals at work here, so be careful.
Okay, so now the thing that surprised me when I was first studying this Joseki is that actually the upper side is more urgent for black to play this area. It's more urgent for black to play than the left side. And the point is that if white gets to play moves like here, for instance, to put black, force black into a low position, it's just not good. It's just going to be too low on the upper side. So actually, black is going to play the next move on the upper side. In the game black played here, you might recall this is still the same opening as game number 14. And I can remember when I was talking about game 14, I really liked this move to the point that I actually tried it out in a few of my own games. And this is a move that was not happening before AlphaGo played it. It was not seen, but AlphaGo played it a few times, and it was in game 14 too. The more normal way would be for black to play here. And actually, in this board position, this move also works. And it makes more sense to me to play here in this board position because black has this strong position on the upper right. And with that stone there at 017 on the third line, it seems to make sense for black to take balance by taking a position on the fourth line. So I would still want to play here, even now, even having seen AlphaGo play on the third line. And I think that for white, in this is actually a Joseki position that is very likely to happen in your games. Like this is the common move for black to play. And I'm going to suggest that this is good for white. This is connecting at one of these points is just, as far as territory is concerned, it's a 0-point move. So it's very useless. And if black at some point pushes through and cuts, then white will have no trouble living even if white just plays here. So by playing this move in the center of the board, white is reinforcing these two stones so that white doesn't have to worry about that cut anymore. So black's not going to cut there. And so instead of cutting there, black's probably going to play this one. If black plays this way, then white can pincer here, and we get into this fight. And so the surprise for me that this fight was better for black than black. For instance, if black had played something on the left side, then white's probably, then it gets complicated because maybe white's going to play something like this, or maybe white's going to start with something on the upper right. But the general idea is that white is going to try to force black into a low position on the upper side, and that's not going to be so good for black. And that came as a surprise to me because I would have a very strong tendency to play black 3 on the left side of the board. Just because this pincer with a white corner in the lower left, this pincer seems to be such a strong attack. It turns out that this is actually a pretty, and looking at it now, I can see that black does have a living shape there on the side. Black can, it's not 100% alive yet, but white's going to have trouble keeping it enclosed. Like if black pushes out here, white will have a choice of playing something on the 4th line, like this one or this one, or playing a hane on the 5th line, in which case black would get out anyway.
Can you show folks that I was just trying to work that out?
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Well, if white cuts here, black will play here and capture the 2 stones.
Right.
Or it might be better for black just to play a hane underneath, in which case white would probably play here anyway, and black would play here. And the value of playing this compared to this one is that with this one, white does have some potential to squeeze here with something like this. So it's going to be a better squeeze for white with all of these points being forcing. And so black might want to. I don't remember checking this with my program, so I don't know. I can't give you any scores for this, but this looks like it might be better not taking the 2 stones. And of course, if white covers here, of course, it's going to be better for black because then black takes them in a better position. Like this squeeze, this is what they call, this is not a good squeeze. It's just, white's spending an extra stone there and didn't throw away enough stones, basically.
More sacrifices.
Yeah, you sacrifice more to get more. So this is the move that I was expecting here. I would want to play. I would still want to play it, but black plays here. And in the game, white played here. And this is still the same as game number 14. Mm-hmm. So people who are interested can go back and find that game. But this is a move that would be a bit more easy to play, you might say. This would be a pretty good move. It would still be making interchangeable points of the left side and the right side. So if black plays on the left side here, white can still press from above. This would actually be, it would be okay. And I added on to 7 here because when I went through this with AlphaGo, I found that this move here, which is a move that is, I've never seen it before. So I was interested in this white 7, which seems to be the best point here on the lower side. Just putting a lot of pressure on that one black stone, threatening that. I think the idea here is that if white plays some normal joseki-like move, it's going to give black the opportunity to play first on the side and get a fairly good position on the side here. So playing something, I remember hundreds of years ago, you would see players play moves like this sometimes. Like this was early in the Edo period, so this was something like 300 years ago. And this was not so successful. So maybe next choice is going to be this move that was shown to me by AlphaGo, this move here. I found that very interesting. Something I might want to try in one of my games. So in the game, black jumped here, and white played this shoulder hit. And the idea with this, okay, this is the game move. And I think this is, this is the game move. I think this one is going to be game number 14. Let's just see. I've added a note there, so we'll find out. Yeah, this is game 14 of this series. And it turned into a big fight there on the upper side anyway. And in game 14, black pushed here. The idea is that if white is going to protect the cut on the left, usually white would be thinking of playing a move like this. And then black gets great shape when black plays here. So black gets great shape on the upper side. I think the idea with this move is that if white plays here later at some point, then obviously this is not going to be such great shape. With this exchange here, um, that stone that black has at 1 is a pretty useless stone. So that exchange there, the marked exchange, is really great for white in this case. So it makes it more viable for white to be playing that move at some point. Sorry, when let's see. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Sorry. So black, so it's in this variation. Yeah. So at some point white can play this move without having to worry about giving black that great shape there. So in the game, black plays the knight move. This is where it's now a different variation from game 14. And white plays here now. So again, it's the same idea that this shoulder hit here is trying to set up this move which connects white. And black actually played here a kind of a very interesting shape. It's sort of a very loose shape that black has here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the reasoning behind this move would be that if black plays here, it's not moving out into the center quite quickly enough. So white's going to play here and then here. And you can see white has sort of curled around from the center, forcing black into a low position. And this is actually like last week we did the KJ and Shea K game from the Ing Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
We found this is a very similar position. I think that was a large knight's corner enclosure in the lower right corner, actually. If we the orientation, so it's a little bit different, but it was the same move. This is an old-fashioned move, playing this move, but even for modern computer programs, it works well when black has a low position on the upper side. In this case, it's the upper side. Yeah. And so white can play this forcing sequence, and if black plays down here, then white's going to play away. Like I would probably play something towards the right side. I'll say that this is where white's going to play.
That's nice. That's really beautiful thickness for white, isn't it?
Well, it's really beautiful, and sometimes it doesn't really work well when in this case the upper side has potential to be a big black moyo.
Right.
Because white's played all the forcing moves that white can play already. And so it becomes more difficult to enter the upper side. But in this case, the upper side is so low. So you'll see in many cases that the computer program, when the upper side is more important, you'll see the computer program suggesting this move, which is giving black a choice of protecting the side or the corner, and white's going to get into one or the other.
Right.
But when white plays this move, white is just going to give the whole upper side to black, and it works really well in this game position. So that's white's idea there. So in the game, black played an attachment on top. So that's just not allowing that to happen. And obviously, in the local fight, this white stone is weaker than the surrounding black stones. So white can't really be thinking about cutting black up yet. So white plays here, of course. So in this game, you can see it's the difference between the variation I was talking just a couple of minutes ago is that the upper side is still important in this variation. And so we're seeing white playing this attachment. And white attaches here. This is a position where white could have played this move, but I think black would just allow white to capture in a ladder in this case. It's like this. And this would be, there would be the question whether white plays the Atari on the second line and what black's going to do for it. The corner territory is really great in this variation. In many cases, this is going to be good for black, even if the ladder favors white. So white plays here. And this all is a bit unusual, but the idea here is that if black plays here, white's going to get the corner territory. So in this case, it's going to be something like this, and white's going to get the corner here. Something like that. So in this case, black is going to get the upper side, but white has a nice corner territory. In the game, black extended here, and this means that white's going to be able to do something towards the upper side. White just extended here and cut. And the ladder does favor white. So if black plays something like this, white's going to capture the ladder. In the game here. So this whole sequence, there's some logic to it. It makes sense. Black doesn't have good co-threats for this ko, so this happens. And black is getting some territory on the upper side and the right side, but to get to that point, black has given up the corner territory mostly. And it's an even trade. So black plays here, finally starting to attack white in the upper left. This was a really big move because otherwise white could have pushed through here to capture the one stone. And that would have been a really big move. For instance, if black leaves it, there's that Hane at h18. So black would probably play once here and once here. But still, cutting at h18 would still be a very big move. So this would be territorial, it would be big, and it would be protecting white in the upper left corner. So in the game, it makes sense that black wants to play here. And you know AlphaGo, it's going to play away. This is not locally, it's not working for black really, but black can push through here, and black is going to connect underneath. So if white pushes through here, black will be able to play a Hane underneath and sort of squeeze white. So if black plays like this, black will be able to connect underneath. And it's just territory that black's losing. Everything is connected, so that's not a problem. So white leaves it, white plays here. And white played this way. This move is kind of a standard move. Like if black plays here, then black's going to need another stone in the corner to make a live shape. So black plays underneath, and it's going to give white a strong shape on the outside. In the game, white played here and extended. So that's a very steady way to play, but it gives black sente, gives black the initiative. And so the other way white could have played would be a double Hane here. And this would be losing some territory on the right side because black will be able to cut it. But getting a living shape there in the middle of the board with some forcing moves from the corner. So white has no lack of eye space. And white gets to play on the left. So this is the safe way to play. This is the way that, probably the way that I would want to play, because the game is going to be really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
It's going to be scary in the game. White's not protecting the upper left. So white plays one move here. Obviously, this is a great shape if we just look at the right side of the board. But how to live in the upper left corner? Do you have any ideas, Chris?
Oh, I mean, after that E18, I mean, looks like black can do almost anything he wants in the corner, like a B18 place.
No, black is just pushed from outside. Black's trying to say that white's dead already.
Oh, really? Just
Well,
wow.
What does white do now that black has pushed at E13? I won't be surprised if you don't have any idea, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm wondering if he can generate an eye somewhere around E15 somehow, like with a threat with F14, and then because I'm assuming there's like one eye in the corner, right? I mean, am I sort of on the right track at all?
Yeah, you're pretty good on the track. The eye in the corner is not established yet, though.
Uh-oh.
And there is some danger that potential eye in the corner is going to cost white a move. Like, for instance, if white does it in a straightforward way like this, then it's still just one eye. So that
that looks not so good. All right, let me get my friends in chat to help me out. All right, what do you guys think? Is white got some like some magic suji here that I mean, here's what I'm looking at is it looks like there's some aji on the outside. What we need is what I think we need is aji on the outside. We need sente aji on the outside. How does that? So we can.
I think you've done fairly well already. Why don't we just sit there and go back to the game?
That works for me.
This would be difficult for me.
Oh. All right.
So white plays the Hane here and black covers. And this is the key move that takes us one step closer to a life for white.
All right. All
And
right.
the
I
idea
like
is
it.
that white had no way of making two eyes in the corner, but if white can play this move and play at B18 next at the marked point, then white
Yeah.
will have two eyes in the corner. So black peeps, obviously. Actually, this would be alive. I actually made a diagram for that. So if black in the game, black peeps, and again, if black plays on the outside, then white will be able to live. Like if black plays something like this, then again, white will be able to live with this. So black plays one more move in the corner. This would be a good point to give you a quiz. So what was the point of this white move? What is white setting up here?
Which I'm sorry, which one? The A16.
A16.
I like a
Yeah.
code,
What is
like
it
the
setting
like.
up?
Assuming, well, I assume it's looking at a co and also, a co and the cut, and also forcing the that's where the eye and the outside is going to come from. But
Right.
no, right?
The cut. The cut
Yeah,
is
the
what
cut.
white is threatening. Yeah. So this cut here, and white can play diagonally here to capture the 4 black stones.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that's not going to be good enough to make a living shape.
Yeah, it's kind of a dead shape, isn't it?
Right. So white has to take it one step further. So
Man, this is a tough problem, Michael.
yeah.
Damn.
So while white has established this cut here, as I was just showing, it's not going to be good enough. So white's going to have to combine that with an eye at this point. So white does have this forcing move here.
Right.
White has to find a way to get a stone out at this point. And then white will have an eye there at the point that I've circled.
Yeah, but that's
So you
only
see the
one.
idea, right? And AlphaGo is going to make it easy for us by playing away and sort of muddying the waters a bit. And I think the idea with this move is that white is thinking of pushing here as a forcing move before white does anything in the corner. So like if black answers, black would usually answer here, and then white could return to the corner. So white's trying to play this one extra forcing move to see how black responds. In the game, this is where this kind of fight gets a bit difficult for me to understand. When black could have avoided the ko, this variation is actually offering a ko to white, because if white pushes through here, white did push through, sorry. When white pushes through here, it's going to be a ko if white plays an Atari here. Black will play the ko here. And it doesn't cure. Like, I would cure because black can connect without a ko, right? So
Yeah.
that's something that I would care about. The computer doesn't care because it's not important enough at this point. The fact that white is about to die on the left side is more important. And it turns out that black is going to be able to get back to the upper side. And so it's the way I interpret that is that black has a much stronger position on towards the left with these stones solidly connected. If you compare it to black playing curling underneath, there's still some looseness there that white can exploit with moves like this. So it's a solid position to the left, and black doesn't care that this upper side he's about to lose something like 20 points.
Can I tell you what one of our viewers' opinion of it says? AlphaGo is insane.
Yeah, well,
just saying.
From a human viewpoint, that could be true. So white plays here. So it's starting to work in that this is how the game, when white plays here, if black plays here, now we're going to see the eye shaping up because white can play here, white can force with this move.
Right.
Up here.
Yeah, there it is.
And this is actually, this wasn't working, sorry. White had to keep 2 in reserve, I suppose. I have to rethink.
I was going to say, this is so hard that it's confused even Michael.
Yeah, it confused me. Well, anyway, black played here. I'll leave that as homework.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that variation. And when black played here, now white played here. Now this is going to be turning into a co-position because white can play this one. And when white plays here, white is threatening to live next by playing at A. So white needed this stone anyway. Basically, what white needed was this stone here to make an eye at this point. After white captures the 4 stones, just capturing the 4 stones was not enough, but having an eye at this point that I've circled, maybe I should have put a mark on it. This point.
Right.
Having an eye there was necessary. So in this case, white's going to be okay. And black captures the, black didn't capture the 2 stones, but black is taking away that eye. And now white's going to start the ko. So they're fighting a ko here. Obviously, it's a ko that black cannot afford to lose now. So black just connects. So that was the trade. And it's alive now.
That's making my head hurt, dude.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Trying to explain it more would just be a bit confusing, I think. And so black has actually gained a lot of outside thickness, and white capturing 4 stones. White's going to end up putting a stone inside there to make eyes. So it's just 7 or 8 points. It's 7 points of territory.
Right.
And black is going to be potentially picking up these 2 stones. You can see black is getting a lot of profit with this wall on the outside. So the attack in general, it worked okay for black. It was a reasonable success, even though black did not kill that white group. So eventually white's going to be forced to play this move. There's a kind of a pattern where AlphaGo will never do it when I'm trying to explain that. It always waits for some other time in the game. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah. And black plays here. It was interesting that Kado liked the hanging connection at this point, which is the way we used to play it. Like this was a relatively new move that started being playing just a couple of decades ago, I guess, when Go Seigen suggested it, actually. It was a move that was suggested by Go Seigen. It's moving more quickly towards the side. And like this, if white plays like this, black can play the extension to the left. Or if white plays like this, then black can play like this to get a better corner. And so in that way, it's more effective than the hanging connection, which is sometimes, like for instance, in a shape like this, black's not going to actually curl, but you can see black is a bit cramped here. So this is more mobile towards the side. It's the more modern move that was actually suggested by Go Seigen. Sometimes I get the feeling that Go Seigen is somewhere in there in AlphaGo.
It does seem that way because so many of the moves are moves that he suggested. Yeah,
not always in the same context, but they're very close sometimes. They're very close.
I'm gonna give him full credit. So so are you. Hey, while you were talking about AlphaGo and give you a little tea break chance there, somebody was wondering about. Since you've been using AlphaGo a lot, do you find that it will often suggest the AlphaGo choices or not so much?
Well, with AlphaGo, like even with AlphaGo itself, you see a difference between the master version.
Right.
This master version, you see a difference between this. And somehow I'm seeing a difference between this and the master that played the human players in 60 games. And it could be that it versioned up because although it was the same system, they did have updating the neural nets just like they do now, the weights, you might say. And then, of course, it was so much different when it was AlphaGo 0.
Right.
Although basically, it was the same system. The way they developed it without human input or anything like that. So it was a completely different thing. And so you see, even AlphaGo is changing. So it's sort of hard to answer that question with just AlphaGo on one side of the equation.
Sure.
But I'd say a lot of the time, yeah. All of the neural networks, they have a lot of similarities with AlphaGo. but also every time they update them, there are some slight changes. Like you can find
Right.
different scores, different results using an old. Um, with the human to AlphaGo games, I was using an. I used the same neural network file for the whole
Mm-hmm.
series,
Mm-hmm.
and so by the time we finished that series, it was um, it was behind what people were using at that time. In fact,
Right.
it is already so. Yeah, so that's going to be true of some of those games. And so the weights change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're different basically, but whether they're fundamentally different or not is something that I don't really know.
Yeah. Good. Interesting question. It's kind of cool that there are differences.
They're changing all the time. They're basically changing their minds. They're with a different network. It's almost a different entity.
Well, somebody's pointing out here, and I'm actually think I have heard a little about this, that there are new tools that are increasing the quote unquote fuzziness
Hmm.
in the algorithms,
Hmm.
so that the AI is playing different moves. I'm actually, and that sort of makes sense, right?
It sounds like a good idea. Like more
Yeah,
variation. They're going to be
exactly.
they're going to be better than humans anyway because their positional judgment of the computer
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so surprisingly good. Like that was where we had expected that they would have trouble.
Right.
Their judgment is so good that it doesn't really matter what they play, and we can learn more from them
Right.
if there's more variation in openings.
Right. That's what's exciting.
Mhm.
This idea, and I remember when I was studying openings and Koseki's insight, one of
Mhm.
the sort of simplistic ideas, oh, this is, and even there it was wrong because, as it changes over history. Things go in and out of fashion, things come
Yeah.
back, and you study them and they turn out differently. So this is, if you will, iterations of the same thing, only at a much faster, much faster pace than
Right. Yeah.
historically.
Well, even when for instance, I think it was the Korean players who started doing group studies to
Yep.
invent new josekis,
Yep.
and they speeded it up to a few weeks.
Yep.
Like now, all you have to do is study it with a computer. You can get some new stuff within the day.
Crazy. Crazy.
The problem is that everyone else is getting the same information.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a
Yeah.
it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, good questions, folks. These are really, really good questions, and I'm sort of keeping a stack of some questions we haven't gotten to. In fact, I'm gonna give you one, Michael, now that I don't want you to answer now, but sort of put it in the back of your mind for later. Which I don't know that we've talked about this specifically, but I think it's an interesting idea about using AI to rate the strength of historical players. So, but let's sort of come back to that one. I want to get back
Mhm.
to the game because there's some interesting things developing here.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I have some potential answers for that
I
question.
I, I thought you would, so
Yeah.
we'll just sort of tease that one.
Yeah. So might actually jumped here, and let's just. This is actually a big move, although Black was not going to die in the upper right corner. It's really big because it's kind of a forcing move um, because of White's territory on the right, and
Hmm.
it makes a big difference in the size of Black's territory. Like if White had played here, then locally Black has to answer that, and it's just so it's so big as far as territory is concerned. It's such a
Mm.
small Black territory. So this was a pretty big move, and White played here. This is where the computer Katawa wanted to play here, and I think this move makes it seems to be a more reasonable move. And at this
Because
point in the game, at any point playing here is actually a pretty important move, although it's on the second line of the board. And so making Miai of that move and a move somewhere around here would be a simpler way to deal with this board position.
mm,
In the game White plays here and Black is going to invade the lower side, this makes it a bit more complicated. And so you could say it's a matter of taste. In either case, it's going to be a very, very close game at this point. And you can see the game is sort of developing into a relatively peaceful endgame almost. When do you say, Chris?
No, I would not say. I've seen. I'm not going to be trapped like that.
You've seen some AlphaGo games before, huh?
I've been to this dance before.
Yeah. Now this move, it sort of bothered me because it's coming from the wrong side of the board. Like this, this is the area that white probably wants to expand into, and white used this move actually to do that. It was working in a way, but white had to pay by giving black some extra territory. So this, playing more straightforwardly from the right here, pushing black towards the left, would be the more natural way to go about it.
Absolutely.
The direction of stones is concerned, something like this. Actually, I did have help from Karago, but this would be my idea basically, just to be consistently building towards the center of the board, with starting with the right side, and pushing towards the center, and making black flat on the lower side, basically. When white starts from this side, it seems to be going a bit too roundabout. It's starting from the wrong side. White actually wedged here, which was an interesting move, and it's going to use these stones as a sacrifice. But so like the process is working. If black at this point plays towards the center, black's going to lose these two stones on the side. So for instance, I'm pretty sure this is going to turn out to be a ladder. All you see is white stones in that direction. So this ladder is going to work for white.
Oh, geez.
And that was a test strategy worth remembering. This one, just in case you don't.
Very clever.
Because without this move, if you connect here, like if this was a Tesuji problem, I would have made it so that black would be able to capture these two stones, and it would be a complete failure for white. But even when black gets to squeeze like this, it's not going to be so good. So in any case, connecting is not as good as squeezing like this and capturing. So black fills the liberty. So with this, black has captured these three stones. And black is getting a bit more territory than before. It's a nice territory there. White is getting some extra forcing. So arguably that worked for white. But it is giving a bit more territory on the lower side. And it seemed to be a bit too roundabout. It's hard to say though, because it is Sente for the time being. And white plays towards the center. Now this is where it seems to be extremely close. Whatever white does, basically it's going to be very difficult for white to finish this territory in the center of the board. So actually, Katago was suggesting this one, which just gives up the idea of surrounding any territory in the center.
Oh, wow.
But taking the side territory. This side territory is pretty big, actually. It's going to be something more than 10 points, and it's going to be Sente for black.
I was trying to work that out ever since white left it, and I figured it must be small enough to leave, but you're saying it's actually decent size.
Really, we're going to see that right now, actually, I think. Black here. White has to answer this to continue surrounding the center.
Yeah.
White has to continue answering it. And actually, this peep here is still going to be a bit of a headache. And we're going to see that develop in the game. And the fact that this chunk of territory, which is about 10 points, has disappeared without black having to spend a move. It came with Sente. That's a Sente 10 points is really big at this point of the game. And so to justify that, white has to get something close to 20 points in the center of the board. And it's going to be complicated. This is where the game starts to get complicated. Black dives in. It might look dangerous, but with that,
oh
no, with that solid shape on the right, on the left there, black has such a strong position on the left of the board that this actually is going to work.
I'm total confident because AlphaGo played it, but if a human played that against me with that wall, I would be thinking, "Where's the parachute?"
Okay, actually, white's going to capture these two stones if white really wants to.
Oh, okay. I
But
see.
that doesn't
I see
matter.
how
It doesn't
you
matter.
faked me out with the right and went with the left.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter that white can capture these two stones.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. AlphaGo doesn't care. So black starts with
Oh, I knew this was coming. What is happening?
So what to do with this peep?
I don't know. Obviously we're worried about what is it? P5, right?
Exactly, exactly. Let's do that variation. So let's say white connects here. Okay, I'm setting up a ladder. Is that enough? We could try running a while. Oh, sorry.
Oh my God. How many letters do we have going?
A lot of ladders in this game, aren't there?
Yes, this is the ladder game. Oh, this is not going to end well, is it?
It's ended.
Yeah, it's ended. We didn't even have to draw a line for that, did we?
Just ended unwell, yeah. Okay. So
Okay,
back to the game.
that's a disaster.
So white
what about just connecting it? I'm assuming P5 doesn't work either. Oh no, no. Obviously, of course it doesn't, because
it just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. Sorry, never mind.
White is really annoyed by this, because if white had had a more leisurely endgame, white would have had time to force with this move. But in this game, the center is so hot, so such a heated fight, that white doesn't have time to play that forcing move there. Like locally, white is threatening to capture 3 black stones, but it's not as important as the center of the board.
Mm-hmm.
So white answered here. And so if black cuts here, the idea is that white's going to push up here and connect. And for the time being, white's okay. But black got a little extra there. We're going to see how black got a little extra there. I'll leave that for later. But black has got some extra potential there on the right. So that black has chiseled down the size of white's territory. Maybe I should show you now. When black cuts here and white plays here, black actually has the option of cutting here. And so black will be able to take away some territory underneath. And the thing that's annoying about this is that if white plays here and black takes, then black will have a potential eye here. So this whole area has potential to turn into a black territory with no moves. If black plays this point, it's going to be an eye there. So that's going to be real territory. Otherwise, if white connects here, although black has a shortage of liberties, black will be able to play the extension here, and it's going to take some doing for white to finish off those black stones. So it's going to be some extra time cost for white. And if black plays on the right, well, everything's going to be taken home. It's going to be saved.
Right.
So that's the whole side area there that black has scooped out.
You're right. I mean, it actually is, even though it's on the second line and it's got that, it's actually big.
Yeah. So it's not something that's going to happen immediately. Obviously, it's less than 10 points, so it's not as important as the center of the board. But it's a little extra negative factor, a positive factor for black, that is going to give black the option of sacrificing those 2 stones in the center. So now we get to see how that's going to happen. Black pushes through and cuts. Obviously, AlphaGo is not going to capture the black stones, but I'm going to start by showing you that white can actually capture them with this move.
Okay.
But it's going to be a bit of a headache, because black's going to cut here and push here. And there's 2 areas that black is threatening. So if white plays on this side, which is probably the correct move, black will be able to squeeze from the outside. And actually, black has potential to win the semi-eye here if black plays here. But white would squeeze from the center. Black's not going to do it that way, but it's going to just play all these forcing moves and play something. This is the move that Katago wanted to play. I like it. I like this move on the second line. And black is going to take territory here, sacrificing those stones in the center. And black is winning in this variation.
Right.
So the other option for white is to play here to stop black from squeezing like that, in which case black is going to break into the center. And in this variation, the Aji here with these 2 black stones that are sort of they were sort of sacrifice stones, or stones that black was prepared to sacrifice anyway. They're creating a whole bunch of aji there. So like if white plays here, something like this, it's a big headache on the lower side. White's really in danger there. Black has that the cutting move at A, so stones around here at these 2 mark points will be forcing at any time. It means white's really in trouble on the lower part of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's still B there. It's still going to be a problem with white. So I don't like this for black. I mean, I don't like it for white. And in the game, white just did not try to kill black. And this was prudent, actually. So this was easy for black. Black gets to play here and save those stones. And white gets to play the extension on the left side. White didn't get so much in the center. But surprisingly, this was an even trade.
Wow.
And so it's like, now finally we're in the end game, right? You're not going to answer that, are you?
No, I'm still looking at the white creates all of this thickness, right, in the center, and then uses it to create a moyo. And it's a really good example for folks that, because I think a lot of us were getting big eyes with that moyo, right? And so I think it's a good example of, that you only get a piece of the moyo, and you have to be flexible. White was very flexible about this, but also on the black side here, this is just brilliant, use of aji in every direction. It's really quite beautiful.
The last drop of profit, exactly. Yeah. So like this area, it did amount to something like 20 points. But as I was saying, white did pay for it partially on this side by giving black profit. And black still has this move here on the right. Black still has this move. And again, if white plays down here, it's the same story. It's still going to be trouble for white on this side. In this case, actually, I made a variation for this later, but in this case, black can just connect here, and white doesn't have time to cut black off because black has 4 liberties there in the center, and white has only 3. And white has no way of extending the liberties. These 2 are interchangeable.
Oh, wow.
And so that just doesn't work for white. It means that, again, when black does that, when black plays that cut on the second line, where did that one come? That was a different variation, sorry. So when black plays that cut on the second line, white will have to answer on the top like this. So there is that it's still there, that extra profit that black's going to get on the right side there. So in the game black plays here, what black is trying to do with this move, black is just trying to play some forcing moves from above. So if white answers here, it would have really been a peaceful endgame. So black would play this exchange and probably immediately start with this. I worked the endgame up to this point. It's going to be really, really close. Very close endgame. It would be close enough that for myself, I would probably make this choice for white. It's not as if it's not clear to me that white is losing at this point. But the fact that AlphaGo chose to play this way probably indicates that maybe it thought it was losing. And so I would tend to believe AlphaGo actually.
Yeah. Wise man.
I would not know. It's probably a half point anyway at this.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a very close game at this point. So white extends. And black pushes out. And this just looks a bit scary for white because black does have this wall here. But white's going to make use of the one weakness in it. And so we have this fight developing, and black chooses this timing to play the cut. AlphaGo just has this unique idea of timing. It's so different. This move could have been played at any point. And as I was showing you, there's this problem that if white plays down here, black will extend and win the semi. It's the same variation I was talking about earlier.
That's right. That's crazy.
There is the fact that if this fight on the left heats up anymore, then it could be quite possible that we get stones somewhere around here. If the fight spreads out into the center, stuff could happen that would reinforce white there, and it would change how white answers. It would make this move possible in some cases.
Hmm.
So there is some reason to black playing this move now, and establishing the fact that white is going to answer on the left. And now black moves out. White plays here. You can see that white does have this cut here to look forward to. This cut on the fourth line.
I've actually had my eye on that for a long time. I spotted that.
Yeah. So black starts with this. So this move has a double value, and that for the time being, it's getting rid of the cut there. Now white cannot cut at that point because it's captured. And it also is making a flow of stones where black is pushing out. So it's also setting up, later it's going to be a cut for black at this point. So for instance, if white extends here, black will cut here, play an Atari. If white plays here, black just connects. This looks bad for white. Or if white cuts here, it would be bad for white anyway. Black captures the one. Even if black just sacrifices those 3 stones, it's going to be a profit for black. So white connects, black plays here, and white has to try to find a way to cut black off. If white just connects here, it will be very easy for black to connect up. Like black can play here, and you might notice how this stone is still working. It's still stopping white from cutting here, right?
It's so interesting because you just look and you see all those white stones around there, and you would just, it just feels good for white, and you realize it's not.
It's not good. Now because white cannot cut there on the 4th line, white would have to connect up in the center. And in this variation, black is already connected here. Like if white continues with this move, black just connects like this. So it's already connected. So obviously, white did not play that way. So we're back to this point where black has played an Atari here. White did not answer the Atari.
Oh. Okay.
So how is black supposed to try to connect here? Just about anyone would want to take the 1 stone.
I was just looking at the at G6 for some reason.
G6. Yeah, let's try that. Looks like G6 is here.
I'm just assuming that the taking doesn't work.
There's some problems with this move also, because when black pushes through, white cuts, and you can see that white is sort of naturally connecting up there. And there's this cut at F8. So black is not so happy with this one. And of course, taking these 3 stones after all this on the left side, taking these 3 stones would not be good enough for black.
Right. Not good. Yeah, it's not good enough. Yeah. Yep. No, that doesn't work.
So black actually. So we're at this point. Black jumped here. I would say
H7. Yeah, H7.
I would think that just about any player, even at the top of the Go world, this would be a move that would be very hard for a human player to find in an actual game. It's a crazy shape, and
it kind of has a shapy look to it, doesn't it?
A shapy look. It looks really dangerous too. But this was a great move, actually. Yeah. So if white plays here, black's going to take the stone now. And the difference is that white white would have liked to have that stone at 1 at this point instead, because it's in the wrong place now. Black can just in this case, let's see, where did I put that variation? Here. Black will play here. And now when white pushes through here, that exchange of this black stone for white 1 has enabled black to capture once. And by capturing once here, and playing here, you can see it's giving that stone at 6 to black. And with that stone at 6, black has a strong position in the center of the board.
Mm.
Like this is just working for black. If white continues here, let's see if I know what I'm talking about. I think black will just answer somewhere on this side. And if white plays here, black can extend. And it's just all of these black stones. Black needed all of these stones to make this work.
Oh my God!
And so the fact that black started with that stone at h7 created this shape here that black has.
Mm.
So let's see if I can find the game. Yeah, so black played here. White cuts here and then plays the Atari. So it's the same thing. Like white could have started with this move, I guess, and played. If white plays an Atari here, it's the same thing. White plays an Atari. Now if black connects, now white's going to push through. It's different from the last time. It's different because white can jump here. So basically what white did by playing the Atari here and exchanging with black 1, white limited black to the taking move at 7. And in this case, white has the jump at 10, which is going to win for white.
Wow.
Yeah, you say, wow. I'm sort of saying wow to this also.
I just, that is amazing. The sequence is just phenomenal.
So black, this exchange of the Atari for this move is what is changing the equation here by forcing black to capture that stone, and white having that jump at 10, pretty much connecting up to the center. Like there was a race to capture that could have happened in this after this, but white's going to beat black on the left side. So back to the game. Black plays the ko. And this is a pretty much forced sequence. White takes, and black has this nice little ko threat. This is a troublesome move for white. If white plays an Atari here, black will be able to squeeze. And this is already bad for white. Like white's going to lose the corner, which is more important.
Oh my God.
So white did not do that, but connected here. Yeah. Black connects underneath once. Sort of hard to calculate.
Yeah.
If white connects here, black's going to take the stone and extend. And so with this, black is threatening to connect on the second line to get 2 eyes. Or if white takes, black can just play here. And you can see that although black is connecting on the first line, that's usually a kind of a dangerous situation. White is so short in liberties that this is going to end up okay for black. It's going to be a win for black. So white cannot connect the ko yet. In the game, white pushed through here. And this is sort of in preparation to playing this point in the corner so that white has an advantage in the local corner fight and can continue fighting the ko. So black connects. Oh, actually, white played here once. Now, so this is where I think I would have expected black just to capture the 3 stones.
Yeah.
And I like every variation here, even a variation in which a group dies. All of the variations are very, very close. So like I find it hard to be sure, but I think this was the better move for black. In the game, black took the ko once, and you see black is threatening to kill white in the corner. But I think actually taking here looks like it was the best move for white. And this will potentially sacrifice the corner. But this is the variation that I worked out here. White plays a ko threat. And the corner actually, it's dead now. But black is winning the race to capture by just 1 move. Like there is a ko there that could happen, but basically it's going to be a 1 move win for black. But white gets all this extra territory in the center of the board. And this is actually a half-point difference. I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a half-point difference. But and I think it's better than the game for white. That's as far as I'm going to go.
So let the corner die, and it's better.
It's better. Like that's 20 so points, but white got the 3 black stones and is going to get these black stones here. These 4 stones are going to drop too. White got some extra forcing moves from the center, and white got this territory. It's a pretty even trade, and it looks better for white than the game.
Okay.
And I didn't actually make a full study of the endgame, so I'm not going to say who wins. And since it's AlphaGo, maybe black's going to win anyway.
Right.
I think this is going to be better for white. From the human viewpoint, like a half-point loss is, humans call it better than a 1.5 point loss.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, from our point of view, at least entertaining. I mean, if you'd have just asked me, whether to consider sacrificing the corner, I mean, it just seems too big, and it would be very hard certainly for me to count.
Well, yeah, it's really hard to count. But if you just count, for instance, these 3 stones, that's about 6 points.
Sure.
These 3 stones, that's about 6 points. And then there's going to be some black stones here that drop. So that profit that white's taking back on the lower side, in the center of the lower side, that's already close to 20 points. And the fact that white got that territory in the center. So it makes it, the calculation is really difficult, but it makes it about the same.
Yeah, makes sense.
So in the game, white actually played a co-threat. And played here. This is really weird. It's not a valid forcing move. This makes it gives us a new Smingle problem. A life and death problem for you to solve. But you would expect white to take the ko, wouldn't you?
I would.
To take the ko. And if white takes the ko, I think black will just continue by taking here. Oh, sorry, not that way. Taking the 3 stones. And basically, white has to play in the corner, and black can then continue with the ko. Actually, I'm not sure which is better. Maybe black will take this stone. I'm not sure about that. I'll take this stone. Yeah, I'm a bit meandering here. Anyway, white can live in the corner if white plays 2 moves, but black can save the side group if black plays 2, wins the ko in the center of the board.
All right.
So black 2 is basically threatening to capture the corner or continue the ko. White does not have a lot of ko threats. Like white has 1 ko threat in the lower right corner, and that's it. So all black needs to win this ko. White will probably play here, but all black needs to win this ko is 1 more ko threat, which can be found locally, like for instance this move. So white's going to end up losing this ko in the center of the board. So the point, the verdict here is that I think white's probably losing already, but this is what we call a false ko threat. It's not a valid ko threat. And black just finishes the ko. Well, actually, black took here, yeah. But black's going to finish the ko like this. And taking once here, this was a really big move. And it's also setting up the cut here later on. So it was really valuable. And white doesn't have anything in the upper corner. Like white plays here. So what does black do? Let's say, what does black do? Where did white play? White played here to live in the lower left corner. What does black do if white plays here? This is a problem that I could give you. And what is the local result?
There's so many throw-ins.
Yeah, throw-ins. Yeah, you're on the right track.
All right, folks, help me out here. I'm just wondering about some sort of combination of descending at T16 with the with R18.
Very good. You've got it right. So black will play here, and black has to stop the snap back here. So black can do that by playing an Atari. And this. Black could always throw in this move. This would be a forcing move that black could play. If white does not answer it, black will be able to capture here and eventually make an eye on the side. So for instance, like this. So that would be, so white will answer it. And in the corner, black can throw in here. Black will start with this side. And it's going to be a ko. Like, for instance, if white plays here, it's going to be a ko like this. So actually,
Right.
black 8 would be used as a ko threat.
Right. Right.
Or if white takes it, black can play here. Then the only way for white to make it a ko would be to play here, and it would be this ko.
Kind of a big,
If
big
white takes
ko.
this, if white takes this, white runs out of liberties here. So that's the story there. And basically, playing the ko, for instance, let's see, it would be, let's just do it with the right order of moves. So black would now push through here, play here, white would connect. This is probably locally the correct variation. And black will play this as a ko threat. And it turns out white will not have enough ko threats for this call. Black still has the extension here. So black has another local ko threat. And black is gaining points in the corner. Like this was a big game. Black's territory on the side was increased. So it's not working for white. So white played this ko threat at 210, the jump at S18, and it wasn't a valid ko threat.
Right.
But it doesn't make any difference. White's losing anyway. So white plays in the corner here. This one. So white just lived in the lower left corner. And at this point, the game is already good for black. You can see they're sort of playing all over the place. Black playing here it's not really necessary, as I was showing you. It's going to be a ko anyway. So for instance, black conceivably could have been doing stuff like this to try to attack white on the left side. But black is, at this point, black can afford to simplify the game. So black is making a living shape on the right side. And it's good enough for a black win.
Wow.
A half point, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And it's AlphaGo. And you can see again, when white connected here, black is still playing the safe move, avoiding that ko that I was showing. So white got to play the big endgame move in the center of the board, but it's not going to be good enough. And after this, it's a pretty straightforward endgame, I suppose.
Straightforward by AlphaGo standards.
Yeah, well, after this, they have to play correctly. It is a close game. Like AlphaGo, if it's a big difference, when after white played this move, I do think that black had an opportunity to win by a few more points. But once black allowed white to play moves like this and live in the corner too, after the smaller endgame started, I think it was already a half-point difference. And they finished the game. And white resigns. So it was a half-point win for black. White didn't have enough ko threats for this call. So it was the final ko that was decisive.
Interesting. So yeah. So gotta count. So folks, count your ko threats before you start your kos.
Well,
that's the takeaway.
Throughout the game, white seemed to have a shortage of ko threats.
Yeah.
Throughout most of the game.
Yeah. What a great game. So many, actually somebody was just saying it's just such a ride. I was thinking it's a roller coaster, such a roller coaster. Just with the AlphaGo games are just,
Yeah, it really got exciting when it looked like white was dead there.
Absolutely. That was just a brain bender. All right, before we go, I want to go back to the question of the AI rating historical players, which I think I have a vague memory that you either raised it or talked about it somehow. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, basically, it's really, really difficult. And by using, computer programs like Karago or Lila Zero to try to rate their games, number one is with players like Hoimbo Dosaku, who were great players, when they get into their tactical brilliance, it becomes actually difficult for the computer to rate it at least with my personal computer, that is. It's very time consuming and difficult for the computer to catch up to the reading that the player did in some cases. So I find that Dosaku seems to be outplaying it's on my own laptop, so that could be part of it naturally.
Right.
But there is that. There's also the fact that when Dosaku was playing players from his own school or playing games that were not serious, there were points where he would he would quickly take an advantage in many of the games, and then he would allow the game to become closer. He would give his opponent a second chance to continue playing the game instead of
Right.
forcing the opponent to resign. And so that's the feeling that I got. Like it wasn't obvious before I started using computer programs to analyze these games. But when I did that, seeing the score fluctuate in a way that seemed to be controlled by Dosaku.
Mm.
That I at least I like to believe that, and I think it seems pretty likely that he was sort of consciously allowing the game to continue at some points, and so it becomes very difficult to rate his games. And I think there's only a few players at that level. Like there may be true of Hoimbo Shusaku was probably not doing that so much because he was a younger player. He didn't live long enough to be sort of condescending to his opponents that way. But I think it could be true of some of the players. And then when we're looking at the openings, basically they don't have the same opening theory that we have now.
Right. Right.
So at that point of the game, they will be getting lower scores.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is basically true that the modern Go theory, even before AlphaGo, was more developed than the theory that they had 300 years ago.
Right.
And so there's a difference in score at that point. And although they were brilliant players, I think their brilliancy mostly is still valid in the middle game positions, which are the same thing basically.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing in this game, I mean, almost any AlphaGo versus AlphaGo game is a good example, but this one is just sort of reminding me of something I think you've talked about before, which is, the magic of the game, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think, look, you're a professional, you make your living, but you also love the game, and it's been fascinating you since you were very, very young. But when I see the stuff like we saw tonight, it just kind of blows me away. And I guess, it seems to be the same for you, and you're operating at a much higher level. So just a few thoughts on that before we go.
It's just amazing the way AlphaGo plays so dangerously at points where even a professional human player would be a bit worried and would be thinking of playing a safe move. And like the way it is just so daring, and the way it actually works in the games, it's so amazing.
And shows, and I think reminds us of the depth of the game itself, right?
So many examples of how it's okay to die. Like there's a tendency that we don't want to die in our games.
Yes, there is.
It's actually, in many cases, it's going to be okay.
So yeah, really interesting. I think that's a really good point to go out on, especially under current circumstances. But that's an option. It's something that you should at least think about. Sacrificing, like you were saying earlier. The sacrifice was too small. You got to make the sacrifice bigger. Folks should think about that. At least consider it. It might.
And also for people using computer programs, I think it's really important not to get upset about the fluctuation of the points.
Right.
Because it can be a very big number of points and still be just, if we're talking about points in territory, it's quite often just 1 or 2 points.
Right. Yeah, that's a really
given back to you in the end game if you play a good end game, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important point. People do tend to be like, oh, they did, especially with these wild fluctuations. Yeah, I think it's an excellent point. All right. Well, fabulous game as always. Fabulous game, fabulous commentary, Michael. Always a mind bender. Really appreciate it. Folks, we will be back next Sunday. Not sure what the game's going to be. Watch usgo.org and the American Go e-Journal, and we will let you know what we're going to be looking at. You got to check out Michael's YouTube stream. He's just having a lot of fun with it, lots of cool stuff. So you'll want to check that out and subscribe. And that way, every time he posts his stuff, which is really pretty frequently. Although I know you were saying you've got your college class coming up, so you may be working.
Well, eventually I'll be posting those videos too.
Oh, wow.
The class is going to be in Japanese, but I'll follow up. Once I get some time, I'll be following up with English videos for beginners also.
Such a gift, such a gift. Well, listen, I don't know if you can see the chat, but everybody is really appreciative and sending appreciation your way. So thank you so much for that. Hey, a big shout out to our producer today, Jared Meadows. Fabulous work, Jared. Really appreciate that. Stephen, who is off doing actually some really interesting stuff. Next time he produces, we may get him to talk about that as well. And as always, a huge, huge thanks to the good folks at the American Go Association, which is usgo.org. Lots of really cool stuff to check out there. Including, and we just had a story on this yesterday, ratings are back. I know the team has been working on that. So especially given the fact that there hasn't been any, over the board play, I'm excited to have that happening. And I know that I don't have any news report, but I know that there's some work going on trying to figure out how we can start playing competitively again, but we'll wait to get some updates on that. With that said, thank you to everybody for watching. Great, great comments. It really contributes. And I know Michael really enjoys, answering and interacting with this. This is kind of fun for us. Oh, but you should check out the Master series that we're releasing. I think you're releasing 2 a week, right?
I might be going down to 1 a week now.
1 a week, yeah.
When I start, I'm about to start releasing the beginners videos in Japanese.
Right.
And so that's going to be a set of something like 3 videos each week.
Oh, wow.
So and they're all going to be coming on one day. So that's going to pick up one of the days for long videos.
Okay.
And then I'll be publishing AlphaGo videos once a week. And every other day of the week, it's going to be a Go problem. So it's going to be either Tezuji or Life and Death. So those are folks, weaker players also. They're usually, most of them are single-digit Q level. I think there's a handful of double-digit Q level problems and some down-level problems. Like if they're too difficult for you to solve, you can just watch the video and the answer will come.
Well, and that raises 2 really important teaching points, which is, we talked about a Q level or a down level. That doesn't mean if you're a down level, you shouldn't do the Q, or if you're a Q, you shouldn't do the down. I mean, if you're a weaker player, try the stronger one. When I was doing a lot of studying of life and death problems, I would usually do like 50 really, really easy 1-move problems that were like 15 Q problems, because you want to get so you can spot those. Like you can see even here, I didn't always have the answer, but I kind of had the right idea of where to look.
You're doing very well today. Yeah. Well, yeah. In an actual game situation, you have emotions. You might have time limits, and there's various factors that make it more difficult for you.
Right.
And so the easy moves should be coming automatically. I think down players have a tendency to think little of the weaker problems, but actually they need to recap them every so often.
Absolutely. And the nice thing about that is you get a good feeling when, because you can solve them easily. Right. And then that kind of builds up. It's like working out, builds up your muscles so that then when you have to do the really hard ones.
Yeah. Basic muscle strength.
Exactly. All right. Thanks again. Great little teaching tutorial there at the end. Thank you for that. And we will see everybody next week. Thanks again for watching. Take care.